What's good, everybody? Today we've got a little bit of a different video for you guys. So as a lot of you guys probably know, if you play mobile basketball games right now, there are kind of two main games on the market, one made by 2K and one made by EA Sports. So the one that's been around the longest and the one that you guys probably know me for would be NBA Live Mobile, the game that we have playing on the right. The other one is definitely a lot newer, and if you take a look at the two gameplays, is significantly better graphics. That would be NBA 2K My Team Mobile. Now, you're going to see some pretty obvious differences right off the bat between the two games, but I wanted to give a side-by-side comparison, number one, to see the graphics, and number two, in order to give some points about what each game has an advantage in, at least in the gameplay aspect. If you guys haven't already, make sure you go ahead and drop a like down below and subscribe to the squad if you're new. But we're going to go ahead and hop into the analysis of the two gameplays. I did my best to try to make these line up the best that I possibly could. So for starters, we have both of these set to autoplay. Yes, both games do have an autoplay function, which can be really useful, especially whenever you're playing live events or drills or even seasons. Probably only playing seasons if you're playing 2K My Team Mobile, not in NBA Live Mobile, as there's not a whole lot of purpose in that. This is not meant to be a card system comparison. This is not meant to be a how the game works comparison. This is simply a gameplay and graphics comparison for the two games to kind of give you guys an idea of what each game has an advantage in and what each game could probably learn from the other end. So as you guys will see, like I said before, the game on the left is definitely graphically superior, and there are a few reasons for that. Number one, 2K is just better at developing graphics for a game. You can see that both in their mobile game and in their console game. Obviously, NBA 2K on console is light years ahead of NBA Live on console, and there's a reason for that. They've put a lot more time and money into developing it. Basically, ever since 2009, NBA Live just hasn't been the same. That's essentially when 2K took over the crown of the number one basketball game on console, and they haven't really looked back since then. EA made a lot of strides whenever they released NBA Live Mobile because they actually finally had some sort of a foothold in the basketball gaming market because their console games were pretty much failing out completely. And so the gameplay that you're seeing right now is not all that different from the gameplay that came out about 3 or 4 years ago whenever NBA Live Mobile was first released. The graphics of the game haven't really changed a whole lot, so it makes sense that this game, which is essentially graphically the same as it was 3 or 4 years ago, is way, way, way behind 2K Mobile graphically. As you can see, 2K Mobile has a lot of advantages. The first would be just general better graphics. You can see a lot more definition in players. You can see different movements for different players. So in NBA Live Mobile, for the most part, all players have the same animations. There might be one or two big man dunks or different high flyer dunk animations that would separate one player from another. But for the most part, the way that players move, the way that they dribble, the way that they run, it's pretty much all the same. 2K Mobile is very, very different from that. In the game, not necessarily every player has movements that are specific to how they would move in real life, but for sure they have movements specific to how their position would move in real life. So you will see that a big man taking it up near the basket in 2K Mobile is going to do so a lot differently from how a point guard or a shooting guard would in the game. NBA Live Mobile, on the other hand, pretty much everybody, like I said, does about the same movements. And for 2K Mobile, especially for some of the main players, you can see that even their jump shots are very specific to how they would shoot in real life. That's definitely something that pretty much anybody that looks at gameplay between the two games would say makes a pretty big difference in the game's experience. For NBA Live Mobile, the game is based much more around the cards in the game than it is around the actual gameplay. And that's part of the reason why 2K Mobile is gaining so much ground on it. Now, before you guys go ahead and assume that this is meant to simply be an NBA Live Mobile bashing video, I promise you that that's not my intention. There are definitely some aspects of gameplay that I would say NBA Live Mobile has an advantage in, especially in the autoplay category. So for the most part, when you're on autoplay, NBA Live Mobile players will tend to stay in action the majority of the time. I'm not sure that it's always fair. I would say to a certain degree, you almost have a disadvantage whenever you're going up against the AI because the AI is built out so well. But on the other hand, whenever you're in autoplay, you get the advantage of also having the OP advantages that the AI has on your own team, which has a better overall. And in NBA Live Mobile, really the only thing that matters in the game is overall. Specific stats on different players don't really make all that much of a difference. And even though I haven't played a ton of NBA 2K Mobile personally, I can definitely tell that there are specific stats that matter to specific players. And you can see that reflected in how each player plays. Another really big difference that you can see between the two games is the functionality of the different camera angles. EA is obviously way behind in this, since their camera angle for the EA base cam literally just came out earlier this NBA Live Mobile season. It's something that people have been asking for a while, and while it is a nice addition to the game, it's got a lot of issues. For one part, I would say the camera moves too much. I would say that's an issue because it seems to move side to side on the court and focus in on specific areas that you don't necessarily need focus on, and also makes it difficult for you to be able to see the entire court, whereas in NBA 2K Mobile, even though this is only half of the gameplay, as in there are sides of each side cut off, you can still see basically the entirety of the court the entire time that the gameplay is going. NBA Live Mobile, on the other hand, you can probably only see around 1/2 to 2/3 of the court because of how the camera angle is focused. So even though this isn't the only option, and I would definitely prefer the alternative camera angle for NBA Live Mobile, this is a pretty fair comparison given that it is a relatively similar camera angle that's operating from the top of the key rather than from the sideline. I've made sure to give some full screen gameplay for both games just in case there's somebody out there who hasn't seen either of these games before. I think there are probably going to be the majority of the people watching that are NBA Live Mobile fans and maybe haven't made the switch to NBA 2K Mobile, or they haven't even tried out NBA 2K Mobile. This is by no means me telling you guys that you should just go ahead and switch to NBA 2K Mobile and quit NBA Live Mobile, because I think that there are a lot of advantages that NBA Live Mobile does have over 2K Mobile, but they're not things that I'm going to talk about in this video. The main objective of this video was to talk about the differences in gameplay and graphics, and as you guys can see, NBA Live Mobile's got a lot of work to do. I don't think the standard necessarily needs to be how good the 2K Mobile graphics are. Honestly, I don't think NBA Live Mobile will maybe ever get there, and there's a reason for that. NBA Live Mobile was developed to be able to function on lower-end devices, so there's probably a lot of NBA Live Mobile players out there that can't even get NBA 2K Mobile to run on their phones. To a certain extent, the graphics need to be lower-end in order to reach a larger market, and I don't blame EA for that. But there's also a lot that they could be doing that NBA 2K Mobile is doing, and I think it's probably going to end up eating up a pretty significant portion of their market share. It wouldn't require anything additionally graphically in order for the game to have different animations, in order for the players to move more realistically, and in order for different positions to behave like they would in real-life basketball. Honestly, I think it would probably be pretty interesting to do a 2K Mobile versus NBA Live console graphic comparison, because I think it would probably end up being pretty close. NBA 2K Mobile's graphics are honestly mind-boggling, and even though this is a very high-end device in being a 2018 iPad Pro, still, that's going up against a gaming console, which is made specifically for gaming, whereas this is just made for general random purposes. Apple has come out and said that they have no intention of focusing on gaming, which shows you just how impressive these graphics are, given that this is running on a device that simply has good specs and doesn't really have anything specifically geared toward gaming. If there are any important differences between the two games that you guys feel like I might have missed out on when it comes to graphics or gameplay, make sure to let me know down in the comments. I probably will have a video in the future comparing the different card systems of the two games, as that is what keeps people interested in NBA Live Mobile for the most part, and probably what's keeping a lot of people from switching to NBA 2K Mobile. But that's going to be it for the video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below and subscribe to the squad if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.